All right. Hey, how's it going? The Devon Stone Podcast, a live show brought to you. Broadcast in a trailer park deep in the heart of North County, Texas. I'm your host, Mr. Deadman. With me is SK Barrett, a life coach that can unfuck your life. Tammy G is out tonight because she's out making babies again with Michael Myers. They're really going for this. They're really trying to make it happen.
Practice makes perfect.
Yep. Yeah, it does, huh? I mean, eventually it's going to happen.
She'll get it right one of these times.
Right? Just spread them wide. Sorry. Oh, jeez. With us tonight is the one and only Mike Lyddon. Did I say that right? Oh my.
No, man, it's Lyddon.
Lyddon. Mike T. Lyddon. Is that it? That's good?
Yeah.
All right, good. I could pass. I passed the grade. Finally.
See, it's a good thing his middle initial isn't G. Then it'd be Glidden.
Right.
Hey, don't feel bad, man. Some people call me Mike Landon. Believe
What?
it or not. I don't know how they get an L-A-N out of that, but they call me Landon. So
Yeah, see,
People are morons who don't.
Exactly.
I couldn't even make that mistake, so that's how you know how bad it is. Oh, Jesus. Okay. All right, guys, this is October Blitz. It's a show every single day, every single night, because I'm crazy. I have no life, apparently. So all sorts of crazy topics so far. Great guests. I'm still salty about last night. We had Aline Dietz on the show, and I was not there.
Well, you decided to prioritize family over, the podcast. If you're going to prioritize like that, then this is the shit that happens.
Yeah, well, I wanted to watch my son do ninja kicks.
One of these days you'll look back on this and think you made the right choice, but today's not that day.
Today's not that day, damn it. Today's not that day. Okay.
Hey, can I make a shout out?
Sure.
I just want to say hi. We've got a listener out there who's a good friend of mine from Peru, and that will play into the show later. Juliana, I want to say hi. She's a good friend of mine, and she's listening to the show right now.
That's good.
All right, cool.
Hey, I tell you what we do. To make the thing spicy, I know it's only Wednesday. It's hump day, right? But I'm a little crazy. The $5 shot thing on the screen, I'm going to honor that. And I have absinthe over here. So, hey, I'm just throwing it out there. For those watching, and you're like, man, I really want to fuck them up. You know what to do. Okay. All right, let's get into this. All right, Mike. I'm going to butcher your last name again. Mike Lyddon?
Lyddon.
I'm going to say Landon now. You got me messing with Landon. Lyddon. Damn it.
Yeah,
Mike Lyddon.
That's cool.
You've been getting into the inventory again.
I know. Mike Lyddon. Who are you? What do you do? Let's start there.
Oh, man. Well, people accused me of being a filmmaker, so I guess that's
What?
my main
Bastards.
thing. Yeah. It could be unverified, but in any case, yeah, I've been making feature films for about 25 years, and this is the latest film, Cuentos de la Bruja, or Witch Tales.
Okay.
Is the seventh film, the seventh feature that I've made. So it's just moving and grooving, man. It all started back in New Orleans, good old New Orleans, Louisiana, making two features there. And I think my friend Rusty here is going to get on the. We should see him in the comments pretty soon. But
okay.
Rusty Roy Jackson, he's been in several of my films. He's an actor in New Orleans. He's been in a ton of indie features down there, and he was in Thing in the Shed, which we are going to get to soon. So
have they all been horror films?
Yeah. They've all been horror or science fiction oriented genre films, definitely. I just don't really have much of an interest in anything else. I was thinking about making a musical about Chairman Mao, but I don't know. Didn't really pan out. But no, yeah, I just like genre films. I mean, geez, man, it's like
No costume
horror.
dramas for you.
Yeah, no, which one? Sorry.
No costume dramas on your list.
Costume dramas. Yeah, I do love a good, like period piece films. I really dig, and I like watching. Whatever, man. I can check out a period piece. Historical drama like anybody else. It's just making them not as interested. Not as interested in.
Okay.
No. No. So that's
So
pretty
horror's
much
your
it.
interest. Okay. Is there a reason why for that?
Yeah, because I love scaring the shit out of people. That's
There you
basically.
go.
What a great reason.
Yeah. No, actually, it's just I here's the thing. Like when I was a kid, my older brothers used to scare the shit out of me. Oh my
so it's
god!
payback.
Like they would. Yeah, I was compelled to watch horror films, but then they would take those films and of course convince me that things were real, right? So
As a good brother does.
oh yeah, oh my god, yeah, they would just scare the hell out of me. And as a matter of fact, I got to relate a quick story here about that. When I was like 8, I think I was 8 or 9 years old, we took a trip up to Rochester, New York to visit my grandmother, who has this like Amityville style house up there. I mean, the thing is like one of those, built in 1900. It looks like Amityville horror, the whole thing. And so she was, at some point she was a seamstress, and she had in her attic, she had the whole setup, right? And those mannequins, they're like half body mannequins that are okay. They're the old style, the ancient stuff.
Yeah, the old torso thing.
Exactly. You can open those up, and you can. So what they did, my brother.
That I didn't know.
Yeah, you can take them, kind of pull them apart, and then my second oldest brother was able to fit into it. They dressed,
that's brilliant.
Yeah, they dressed him up like a headless mannequin, and had me go up into the attic, man. It scared the shit out of me. I was like, so that's one of those things I won't forget. But yeah. So in any case, they completely drove me insane. Yeah. And then years later, I started making, horror films.
It all makes sense. It all makes sense.
Yeah, it all makes sense. Yeah, exactly.
Kind of reminds me of a horror version of Wild America. You've seen that movie.
Wild America. No,
yeah, it's about some kids who go on an adventure filming wildlife, but they always pick on the littlest one.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, well, that's it. That's pretty much it. Yeah, the youngest in the family always gets it.
Oh, yeah, of course. They have to. They're the rat.
Yeah.
They get all the shit.
Right. The runt gets the shit. Yeah, exactly. Jesus. But
it built character.
Yeah.
And then you became a horror director. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, I was,
we have a pretty consistent, response to people who create horror stories, whether visually or written, about having experiences. There were childhood triggers that got them going on this one way or another.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's and some people have had paranormal experiences.
That's right.
I mean, like things I had one. the only one. Excuse me for 1 second. the only one that I consider legitimate that I've ever had in my life. I was like I don't know, about 20 years old. I was living in Orange County, California, and I rented out once again. It was a house. This great house that looked like an Amityville house in Orange County, and they had like a barn in the back of the house, which had a loft, and so I rented the loft out.
Okay.
And so the first day I was living in there, I didn't have a bed, so I had a sleeping bag, and I was in there. I had closed the door, and I was sleeping. I was faced away from the door. there are steps that come up to the loft, right? So
Okay,
I'm sleeping, and then suddenly I wake up and I hear footsteps coming up, to the door, and I'm like, okay, it's got to be somebody from the house, but for some reason I couldn't move. I was completely
Oh,
uh,
sleep paralysis.
yeah, exactly. But I was awake. I was staring at the wall.
Did you
I
see
was
the Hat
like,
Man?
okay, why can I?
Sorry.
Well, this is classic, night terrors,
Hmm.
sleep paralysis. You're absolutely right. And so I heard the door open, like slowly, and then footsteps come right up to me. I could not turn around, and at this point, I'm like scared shitless, of course. And I hear somebody crouching and then whispering my name, Michael, like that. I swear to fucking God. And at that point, I passed out.
Hey
I
man, I was
passed. I was,
touched one night, so I believe you. I was touched
yeah,
in the back, my
You
mid
know,
back.
yeah. I just,
it's every guy's fantasy to have the girl, hot chick from the house come up into your room when you're visiting, right?
right, exactly, exactly.
He
Who
didn't
knows?
say it was a chick,
But
and he didn't say it was
no,
hot
well,
either.
but
He didn't
you know,
see her. It
it
could have
is fun.
been.
It is funny because there was a hot chick that lived in the house.
Yeah.
That is
See?
so funny. But in any case, I passed out and then I woke up and I could move. So I slowly turned around and nobody was in the room. But check this out, the door was open. I closed the door. Of course, I closed the door when I go
Well,
to sleep.
yeah.
I
So
even
so she came
So
in, she whispered your name, and you fell back asleep. So she left.
I
Man,
guess,
you could
Totally
I
have.
guess,
missed out.
sure. I guess, man. I don't know. It was the weirdest. It was a weird experience. I'm not
You
really.
missed the moment, man. You missed the moment.
Yeah,
Could rose to the
I,
occasion, literally, but you
yeah,
missed it.
I could have.
Yeah.
Well, you could say I was scared stiff, but
Well, she didn't think so.
I know. Apparently,
She'd be like,
walked
okay,
out.
well, I have a question though. I have a question. So, how do you go
Yeah,
from New Orleans to Peru? Like, how did that happen? Like, what's going on?
yeah. That's a bit of a story. All right. So,
Tax evasion? I mean, I don't know.
uh, yeah, exactly on the lamb. But no, 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 no. I actually I went down. Okay, yeah, this gets fairly complicated. Okay, I was living in Washington State. I went to college to become a veterinary technician. Okay,
Okay.
so when I
At
graduated,
Central?
no, in Bellingham.
Oh, Western.
Yeah, what? Yeah, no, but it wasn't Western. It was a tech college. It
Okay.
was, I think, as a matter of fact, it was Bellingham Tech. If I'm not mistaken, it was Bellingham Tech. In any case,
Yeah,
I.
I'm from the Seattle area.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I used to go down there all the time to catch shows and stuff.
Right.
And of course Portland. A lot. Hey, did you ever go to the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival in Portland?
I
I have
have
not.
not.
That is a bitchin' film festival. That is such a great film festival, man. It's all H.P.
I bet.
Lovecraft.
I
It's
bet.
great festival. I
Not
highly
like
recommend.
the snooty shit they do in Seattle.
I don't know. I don't think I ever went to a festival in Seattle, but I had a film which is part of this horror anthology movie called
Hmm.
Footage Found Arabi, which
Okay.
is about love. It's about Lovecraft and his visit to New Orleans.
Okay.
Okay, which he really did take a trip in 1932 to New Orleans, and during that time he was missing for 3 days. Nobody knows where he went or what he was doing. So my film proposes, kind of like the idea of what was going on during that 3 day period, and it's sinister and of course supernatural.
Yeah.
So in any case, they showed the film at the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival. It was really great. I highly recommend it. It takes place in an old theater in downtown Portland. But it's just I digress. So I'm in Washington, and I then decided I was going to volunteer at an animal shelter in Venezuela.
Okay.
Okay, so I go. I drive my van. This is 2005. I drive. This is towards the end of August. 2005. I drive my van, which is in crappy condition, down the coast. I make it down to Southern California, and I'm having some problems with the radiator and some.
Was your intention to drive all the way to Venezuela?
I practically did. Here's what happened.
Wow.
I went, so I slowly made it across Texas. This is the end of August, and I had to run the heat to prevent the van from overheating. You know how you do that?
I've been
shit?
there.
Okay, so you know what I'm doing. So I'm going across, and I make it to Mississippi, to where my dad lived. Okay, this is literally, I landed in Mississippi 1 week before Katrina hit.
Oh, Jesus.
And this is Bay St. Louis. Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, which was the epicenter, the ground zero of Katrina. All right. So at that time, I'm like saying to my dad, hey, look, there's this big gas hurricane coming. We better evacuate. And the guy's like, he's a stubborn old man. He's like, no, I'm not leaving my house. My friend's coming over and we're going to ride it out. You know, that whole fucking deal. And so I'm pleading with this guy, but he's a stubborn old bastard. And so he doesn't want to leave. And finally, I'm like, look, you got to leave. I'm leaving now, because it was 2 days before that thing was going to hit. Mm-hmm. And so I got in my van. I drove as far as I could before the storm actually hit the coast, which was Pensacola, Florida, which was just far enough out of the damage area. We still got hit, but it wasn't anything nearly as bad as the Gulf Coast near Mississippi and Louisiana.
Yeah.
But it was bad. So I was there. Then what happened is that the bridge going back to Mississippi was destroyed. Okay, so I'm like, shit, I can't even go back to Mississippi to see what the fuck's going on with my dad. All power is dead. There's no communication. I talked to my brother in who was up and teaching at Hattiesburg at the university up there, and he's like, yeah, we're going to try to come down from the north to go into Bay St. Louis. And I was like, great, do it as soon as you can. So at that point I was like, I have no choice. I must drive my van to Miami, which was where I would pick up take a plane to go to Venezuela. That was kind of the thing. In the meantime, my brother goes down to check out my dad. Everything was fine. He got flooding in his house, but other than that, he was, there was no problem. But the house, of course, the carpet and all the flooring and shit was totally destroyed. But he was, it was one of those things where, Katrina was worse in New Orleans because of the levee, the breaches of the levees, man. People literally drowned in their attics. They could not get out of their roofs. It was so fucked up. So basically I ended up, I drove to Miami. I put my van into a storage lot, and I flew to Venezuela. And then I was volunteering at this animal shelter in Venezuela for about 5 months. And so I met up with these guys from England, and we started traveling around, and we noticed that in South American musicians kick ass, and they play in the and there's definitely very, very hot women down there. And but the musicians play in the street and they kick ass. So we're like, hey, we should start videotaping these musicians in the street. So we formed a kind of a little company called Howling Earth. And now you can go to howlingearth.com if you want to see the videos we recorded. We ended up recording like 180 videos, music videos of groups all over the place. And what we would do is we would go down there and shoot for 5 or 6 months, go back to our respective countries and work for 6 months, save up enough money, go back for 6 months, record, come back. And we did this for 2.5 years. So we, ended up doing that. And at the last leg of the journey, I met a girl who I would end up marrying in the United States.
It's always a girl.
Yeah, Peruvian girl.
So
explains
it.
Peruvian girl. So we basically we ended up moving. We were in New Orleans after we got married. Then we moved down to Peru, where of course we still currently are. I gotta say we're actually going through a divorce right now.
Oh man!
I'm gonna. It's happened. I'm moving back to the States probably within the next 6 months. So
it's one of those things brought you to Peru, but now you want to leave because I mean, well,
I've been there for actually. I mean, I've lived there off and on for about 5 years.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things, and also too, the thing about Peru is great. It's fantastic, and I think the making the film there was just really a great experience. There are a lot of talent. Yeah, absolutely, a lot of talented people down there, and it was really cool. The problem in Peru is that there's really no film industry.
And how is that a problem?
Pretty much. Well, here's the problem. There's no infrastructure for distribution. There's absolutely nothing there.
And no crew with experience.
Right. Well, yes. Most of the people I had on crew had never worked on a feature film. Maybe a couple of short films. So
Bowfinger.
It's just one of those things, I mean, you pretty much, you just kind of forge ahead, and the film turned out great. It really did. I mean, it was, I love, especially the Spanish language version. I love it. So the problem is dealing with distributors, getting, here in the United States, man, the scene. It's like there are tons of festivals. There are agents in festivals. There, you can go and talk to distributors. You can make it's the idea of doing business in film is just so much easier. Okay. And so now that the film is made and it's gone through the festival process for a year, I feel that it's a good time to move back and pursue the distribution end of it. There she is. There's your hot witch right there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about this film. I'm going to rewind it back a little bit. I'm going to put the audio on for it. That's
cool.
Let's talk about this film. Like, how was the making of it? What was the idea behind it? The research, all that.
All right, cool. Yeah. This is weird. Okay, so it's a movie made in Peru with a Peruvian cast and crew, but it's based upon stories of that were taken from pre-code horror comics of the 1950s from the United States. So, so you've got like this interesting kind of thing. It's kind of like, Tales from the Crypt, EC, that kind of deal.
Okay.
Okay, I'm getting a really weird audio thing here, right? Okay, are you going to show the trailer with the sound, or?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
Oh, okay. Good.
Masterifico.
Master Turbador.
I like this. Oh, she's such a nice witch. Nothing nothing suspicious.
Yeah, she's great. And that's the front of the house.
Great.
There's my Halloween thing.
It's Tammy G. That's what it's going on there.
Tammy G. No puedes imaginarlo.
Man.
There we go.
That sounds a lot better in Spanish. The English version, I think I'll pass on that.
Yeah, it's just classic. It's like, I mean, you guys love the pre-code horror comics, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like, EC Comics, and these are not EC Comics though. These are the other publishers.
The ones that are really pushing it. Okay, real fast though. Are there things you could do in Peru that you couldn't do in the States?
Yeah, this is pretty weird. I'm still watching the trailer.
Oh no, it's okay. That's because
There's
there's a delay. There's a delay.
there's a pretty substantial delay. Okay,
But
so in any
it's
case,
about it's streaming. That's what.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Could you say that again? Repeat that question, or you said something. A question.
Was there things you could get away with filming in Peru that you couldn't do in the States?
No, absolutely the same.
Oh,
It's the
damn.
same. It's a maybe many years ago, but it's the same. It's look, we did film a
So
little.
you couldn't actually kill people.
We couldn't
damn.
actually kill people.
Could he have more tits? Can he have more?
Still looking for that location.
More nudity?
Hey, there it is. Hey, Roy Jackson's. He's on. I see him on the comments now. Rusty Roy Jackson. He's in Thing in the Shed. I just want to point that out. He's with us tonight. I see him. Cool. He's commented. It says,
"Hey Roy."
Hey Roy, Rusty, how's it going, man?
Hey Roy, how's it going, man? Hey, if you don't mind, press the like button, subscribe. Hey, by the way, if you're listening right now, press the like button, subscribe, and just a reminder for anyone, if you want to see me get messed up, $5 shots, $5 shots. That's crazy. It's a Wednesday night. I have to do stuff tomorrow morning.
Dang, I drank all mine already. I didn't even get paid for it.
Hey, it's also Alan from the film festival too. He was just at the Halloween film festival as well. Alan
Film Festival, Alan. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, we went to this. This is a funny story. I got to relate it real quick.
Okay.
At the film, where the film festival takes place, it's a place called Kill Devil Hills. Okay, great name, isn't it?
Yeah,
Kill
good
Devil
name. Good
Hill.
name.
Yeah. So this is Outer Banks, right? And this is right near Kitty Hawk, where the Wright brothers flew the plane.
Mm-hmm.
There's a museum. We went to the museum. It was fantastic. And we also ended up going to Roanoke Island.
Oh, I love that.
Roanoke Island, man.
Man,
what
crazy stories.
Yeah, the missing settlers,
Yes.
all the settlers that disappeared. So we went there. That was totally cool, and we shot our own video, like a found footage, which I will edit soon.
Oh, cool.
About our little trip. We walked, did a trail, in Roanoke Island. And of course, horrifying things happened. So that should be pretty fun.
Oh, can you hit? What was the most horrifying thing that happened?
Oh, well, we made this video. That was the horrifying.
Oh my God, that's
it's like, we did all the same shit. Like, hey, didn't we just walk by that tree? Jesus Christ, we walked by it 3 times.
Okay.
That shit. I mean, just really getting ridiculous. But in any case, when we were, during the festival, we went out and there was a restaurant called Dirty Dick's. Now it's
can't pass by Dirty Dick's. I mean, you can't pass them up.
Yeah, it's Dirty Dick's, and it says, "I got my crabs from Dirty Dick's." Of course, because it's a freaking seafood restaurant, man.
That's hilarious.
So there you go.
All right.
And if you go to the UK, you got to be sure and order up some spotted dick.
Oh shit. Yeah. So I don't know. What was the question?
Sorry. It was more of like a. Oh, well, actually, I want to go back to.
Knows.
All right. So Cuentos de la Bruja. So what was the inspiration behind it? What was the process like? Let's go from there.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I am a absolute fan, total fan of pre-code horror comic books. I have
As everyone should be.
Yeah, I have a few. Like, I'm not a collector, but I do have a few of the originals. But these are not EC. These are the off-brands, the ones that nobody ever heard of. And some of that stuff is better than EC, in my opinion. I'm just going to say that right now, because some of those things are much stranger. More bizarre, man, than EC.
You should talk to Church.
Oh yeah, you would like him.
Well,
Gospel of Comics.
He
does a show called Gospel of Comics where he talks about everything comics. And we were on there talking about.
And he loves those pre-codes shit.
Oh
Yeah.
shit! I should go on, man. Here's what's going on. So I love these pre-code comics,
Mhm.
and I was like, I should do an anthology based upon some of these lesser known publishers, because
Yeah.
the whole thing about the pre-code. What happens? All these artists and publishers got totally screwed
Oh, of
when the
course.
comic, when basically the government imposed the Comics Code authority upon the publishers, and they did it in such a way where the publishers wrote the Comics Code authority, right?
Mhm.
And if they didn't abide by it, the distributors would not distribute their comic books.
God,
That's
that's
how the
garbage.
government screwed them. Yeah, they
Right.
like
It's
like a
it's
slithery snake.
it's a backdoor threat
You
that
got it.
if you
Got
don't
it.
do this, the government will step in and do it for you.
You got it. It's exactly what happened. And so what happened was that a lot of artists, a lot of writers, and a lot of publishers went out of business. Really good artists
Yeah.
were back to painting houses, man. Shit
Man.
like that. Okay, so it sucked.
Okay.
And so I know, it's like one of those times. This was the first major case of censorship on an industrial level in the United States, and it was huge. Okay, it was just like the impact. I don't think people realize just how bad it was. But I am doing a documentary on these comic books. I'm doing it now. It should be ready, by mid next year. Called Haunted Thrills, and this is about all of the pre-code comic books that you've never heard of,
Okay.
that I thought were really awesome. And it kind of goes, hand in hand with Cuentos de la Bruja, because the stories are from those obscure comic books. So that was the idea. I was like, okay, we could, go through. I must have gone through a few hundred stories, trying to find 3 stories that were really good, yet you could make for a very low budget.
Mhm.
That was, the trick of the deal, right? So I
Yeah.
finally found 3, and the 3 I think are really great. One of them is just batshit crazy. One is like a mad scientist kind of thing, and one of them is more like EC in the sense that it's like a revenge kind of story,
Okay.
So those are the 3 stories, and then of course with the witch wraparound, which takes place during Halloween. So it just works. We're in it, gentlemen.
Yeah.
We are in it now.
We are. This is our
we are
month. The month of
celebrating
horror.
Halloween. It is Cuentos de la Bruja. It is a Halloween style horror film.
So what in this film, the Witch Tales storyline, it's a segue to other smaller sub stories as well. Is that what this leads to?
I'm sorry. Could you say that again? I didn't quite follow.
Well, yeah, just making sure I'm following. So you have this.
Okay.
You got the Witch Tales storyline, but there's also like these other sub stories as well in the movie.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
there's 3 stories. There's 3 stories, and the Witch Tales, or the witch is the wraparound.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Right, just like a classic, Tales from the Crypt movie or something with the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
Except I've got the witch, the attractive, seductive
Yes.
witch there. And it just worked beautifully. It was like,
Maybe she was in the barn.
maybe. All those years ago.
Then you
man.
really missed it. You really missed it. Then.
Oh man, so that was the genesis of, I like doing horror anthologies. The Horror Anthology Movie, Volume 1, which has Thing in the Shed in it, we did that, and Rusty is in that. Of course, he's in Thing in the Shed, and he's also in footage Found Arabi, which is the Lovecraft episode that I was telling you about. But I just have I like the horror anthology format, because pretty much simply put, if you don't like one, you're probably going to like the next one. You see, it's not like
Yeah.
you have to sit through an entire crappy movie. If you don't like one, the next one's probably going to interest you. So I kind of like that idea. I like the anthology idea, and I would like to do more. As a matter of fact, I'd like to do some more. Based upon the '50s pre-code horror comics, because there are thousands of stories in those comics. I mean, it's endless.
That's all. The copyright's all expired on that stuff, right?
Yeah, it's all public domain, except for EC, which re-upped their copyright because of the series. Remember, they did the Tales from the Crypt TV series.
That's right.
And so all that shit's copyrighted. They did that. So in any case, there's
So what was it like the production? So what kind of a shooting schedule did you have, and how long did it take to put the shoot together and post production and that kind of thing? And
it took probably a few months to write the scripts. The advantage I had there was I already had the comic books. So there was the story. I just simply adapted, and kind of modernized the stories, to fit a modern scenario. And so that took a few months to adapt the 3 stories and write the witch wraparound. And then it took us, what we would do is we would take one segment, which would be like 20 minutes long, let's say, and we would take it, we would shoot 4 days on each one. 4 days. So we shot really about 5 minutes a day.
That's pretty aggressive.
It's
still
very, very aggressive. But it was a $9,000 budget, man. So, I mean, absolutely,
can't drag it out.
Absolutely total no budget filmmaking. Shit. We even shot. I mean, here's something. I mean, talk about insanity. But I'm like I love shooting on film. I love shooting on Super 16 millimeter Super 8 film.
You didn't really? Did you really?
We shot the witch scenes simultaneously on Super 16 and on digital video.
Simultaneously, so he didn't really have to. He just did that because
I've got the gear. I've got a really great camera and shit. I love film.
Yeah, but the stock and the processing. Holy shit.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. It was the problem is that I had old stock that, I mean, you imagine, we moved from the United States. I had that stock frozen. It got unfrozen. We moved down here. It went through whatever x-rays or whatever the hell they did to check out the film.
Yeah.
Then I refroze the film in Peru. Then I thawed the film out. And so consequently, only one scene of the witch, it's in the film. There's only one scene of the witch, which is on film. The rest of it's digital video.
And you can tell the difference, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If you looked at it, you would be like, this is the film scene. Mm-hmm. I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure of it. Matter of fact, I'll give you guys the screener thing, so if you want to watch it, it's on Vimeo. So you can watch.
You shoot me that link right now. I'll play it. That way we could demonstrate live right now that there's a difference.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. It's we could. We do have. I mean, if you want to go through, we have quite a lot to talk about.
We do. We have plenty to talk about. Okay. So, and how was it like working with a bilingual cast? Because you had to shoot this with both in English and Spanish. So how did that happen?
Well, okay, yeah, it turned out fairly well, because in 2017 there was a festival in Lima called Horror Fest Lima, and this is the only horror festival that takes place in Lima. Okay. And so what happened is that the director of the festival discovered, I think through Emilio Obregon, who owns the Museum of Terror, right? They discovered that I was making this film, so they invited me as a guest at the festival. And so what happened is I ended up getting a booth at the festival, so people could come up and talk and whatever. And so what I decided to do was to hold a casting call, right?
Okay.
So at the horror festival, I had open casting, and for 2 days, I had dozens of people come up, and we basically took their info. I did like a casting, a little audition right there to see how they were, and so forth. And we ended up, I think I would say that we got about 70% of our cast from that casting call at the horror festival.
Kidding.
Yeah, so it turned out really good. I met some people that ended up being part of the crew there. And so that event in itself was really, the catalyst to actually getting the bilingual cast and crew together for the film. It really helped a lot.
That's pretty cool.
And yeah, very cool. And I'm not the most fluent person in Spanish. I can speak certainly well enough in conversation and so forth. But it was the challenge for me was like we're on the set, we're shooting, and we have scene one, and it's like, okay, we're gonna shoot scene one now in Spanish. So we shoot the scene, and then we have to turn around and like, okay, now we're gonna shoot it in English, and so everybody's got to flip around and get their English tongue on. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like in order to you're talking about the inflection, the whole thing, like just saying the lines with the same inflection, the same kind of reaction and so forth. It's challenging. I could not do it. There's no, as an actor, like if somebody was like, okay, now do your part in Spanish, I'd be like, fuck you, I can't do that shit.
Right?
It's just, it would be too challenging. It would be really, it is a challenge.
Like as a kid, I used to watch the Spanish soap operas because the ladies were much more attractive. Not on purpose. Just if they ever came on TV, if I was bored or whatever, But
indeed.
Imagine watching that in English. Fuck that shit.
Oh yeah.
Keep that shit in Spanish.
I mean, Jesus. So in any case, what happened was that we were able somehow to like just keep going. Like in a given day, we would do whatever, let's say 5 scenes. And so we just kept going, like English to Spanish to English to Spanish, and
my word.
And so there were technical issues that would come up.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, how do I say that in Spanish? Like a certain thing about lighting or whatever. And thankfully, there are a couple of guys, Raul Chamorro, who plays the Mad Doctor in Experimento de Terror. He's very fluent in English. So he was one of the guys. My ex-wife is also fluent. So they were able to help me. Like I would say, like, hey, how do I say this? Because I'm trying to like get this point across about trying to light a scene a certain way. And so I had the help. Let's just put it that way.
That's good.
I had the help. We were able to get through it. And it was a very, sometimes it was frustrating because we were moving very quickly. Sometimes we were shooting, we were always shooting like, I don't know, 12, 14-hour days, and sometimes we were shooting like 7 minutes a day.
Jeez.
It's just like, that's just totally nuts. It's insane. But we had no choice. When it comes down to it, with a no budget film, you don't have the luxury of saying, oh yeah, we'll just add another day. We'll just rent this hotel for another day. We'll rent this restaurant, whatever. No, doesn't happen. It's you've got
sometimes even just feeding the cast for another day is
Of
Out of the
course,
question.
absolutely. And the thing is that I paid the cast and crew. Everybody was paid on the film. You see,
Nice.
because when
That's
you're
good.
making a when you're making a feature film, pay the cast and crew, and for one
Yeah.
big reason. If you're going to be shooting 15 or 20 days with the same cast and crew, it's absolute torture. Anybody that's made a movie that's done the thing, it is torture. It really does. It really does grind you down. And man, if you don't pay them, it's kind of like I mean,
Well, they
somebody
could quit in the middle. Really
right,
easy.
somebody would just
They could
quit.
just walk away.
Yeah, they have absolutely no financial incentive to stay.
Mhm.
So it makes complete sense. Pay the cast and crew. It's just the right thing to do, and you will make sure that you keep your cast and crew through the thick and thin of it.
That's
You
right.
know,
You keep them happy, and they're going to help you. They're going to help support
a-
you
a-
too.
absolutely, absolutely. So we ended up shooting. What we would do is we would shoot like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, 4 days, and then that would be one segment. And so we did this. We did one segment a month for 3 months, and then of course we took another long weekend on another month to shoot the witch scenes.
Yeah.
You know, and so it took us about 4 or 5 months. In that process, I guess, just to get everything in the can,
Mhm.
to have it all. Because of course, some people had jobs and
Mhm.
in the the whole thing. So
Right.
Okay.
that's how we did it, and we did it. It actually happened pretty quickly, and then it ended up taking me, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, maybe 5 months to edit the Spanish version to completion.
Okay.
With all
And it's out
sound.
now in the film circuit, right?
It's doing the film festival circuit now, and probably, I mean, geez, the Horror on Sea Festival is January of 2020, so that kind of it's
What?
yeah,
Where in England is this?
this is about 20 miles. It's on the coast, literally on the
Yeah.
coast, about 20 miles or 30 miles from London. So it's going to be cold as hell, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant time to be there. Jesus
Oh, but,
Christ.
well, and I think it just adds to the horror, right? I mean, like holy shit, I'm freezing my balls off. That's another story right there. But the I don't know. It seems like, as far as this festival season, it started for Cuentos de la Bruja. It started in December of 2018 with one festival, and then it's just kind of gone through the year, and it looks like it's going to end in January of 2020 with this Horror on Sea festival, and it's so far we've had it in 11 festivals, and
Okay.
we've won 6 awards,
1/6 awards.
including
I have one on the screen here.
that-
The Moody Crab Film Fest.
Moody Crab,
Yeah.
India. Moody
Nice.
Crab.
Did you go to that one?
Crab. No, hell no. I mean, it's just like $3,000 for a round trip ticket.
Yeah.
Really expensive, but it sounded like a really good small film festival, but really cool.
And it won an award over there. Look at that.
No,
No, it
did
didn't
not.
win. Oh, sorry. Official
no.
selection. It looked like it did. Sorry.
official selection.
Okay. I got
No,
it.
it got
Away. Sorry.
it got an honorable mention for best feature at the Infierno in Los Andes festival, which was the first festival
Oh, cool.
it went to in Peru.
Hmm.
Okay, so it started off in Peru. Then
Yeah.
in January, it made its North American debut at Days of the Dead in
Days of the Dead.
Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah, Days of the
Nice.
Dead convention, which has the Reels of the Dead Film Festival in it. And so it hit there. Stacy Pippi, by the way, who runs that film festival, is awesome. I finally got to meet her a few weeks ago because here we go. The English language version of one of the segments called Bon Appetit. I have currently, I submitted to like 5 or 6 film festivals as well. And so Days of the Dead picked that one up for the Charlotte, North Carolina convention. I think it was September 27th, 28th. And so I went there and I met Stacy Pippy, who runs the show. She's totally cool. And they do it. I love the way they do it because Days of the Dead. Yeah, there we go. There's Bon Appetit right there. Yeah, we're watching it. So the great thing they do is you have this big dealer's room, right? And in the dealer's room, you have various celebrities who are signing autographs and stuff, right? So we had a table for the filmmakers in the dealer's room, and I sat there like both. I think it was maybe it was Friday and Saturday for a few hours each day, and I sold like 23 copies of Horror Anthology Movie Volume 1. So in reality, yeah, it was totally cool because this is something rare for a film festival or a convention where they allow you to bring your film in and sell it. Think about that.
That's
That's
so
like
bizarre that's
man.
rare.
Yeah, it is rare, and it's something that filmmakers should take advantage of. And it is for this reason that I highly recommend Reels of the Dead, Days of the Dead. Check it out. It's on Film Freeway. That's how I, enter into the festivals. Stacy Pippy, she's really great. And, you will not be sorry. It's a really great festival.
Now, that kind of goes to my next question I have for you, because this much involvement, this much investment in indie filmmaking, especially horror filmmaking, is there any sort of return of investment? Is it making money for you? Is there just a passion project?
Well, no, there's money.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like, for instance, it really depends on how you approach it. The first feature that I ever made was I wrote, produced, and directed with another guy in New Orleans, Jeff Turek, and this film was called Cut Up. And I think you have there's a graphic for it that I think I sent you guys.
I'm sure.
But in any case, okay, Cut Up is kind of a horror film and a crime drama, kind of wrapped into one, Okay. And it was very mainstream. Our idea was like, look, let's make a kind of an accessible, low budget genre film that will get distribution and will make us money, so we can go on to make a bigger film. So what happened is that we made a monumental mistake. With the film, we finished the film. We started approaching distributors, and we sent the film. Have you ever heard of Arrow Distribution? Arrow Film?
I don't think so.
Okay, Arrow Films, they're still going, and they're big. They do a lot of genre distribution. And I believe they're still in New York. But in any case, we submitted to them. We submitted to a few others, and this foreign distributor, I should say, a company that specializes in international distribution, Four Corners, contacted us, and they're like, "Oh man, we'd love to, distribute your film internationally." And we're like, "Oh wow, cool." And they're like, "Hey, yeah, we can get it into like, 20, 25 different countries and make some pretty good money." And we were like, "That sounds, really good." So we signed a contract with them. And 2 weeks later, Arrow Films contacted us, and they're like, "Hey, man, we want to distribute your film."
Okay.
And it was too late. It was too damn late because the thing about Arrow is they do domestic and international. So we could have gotten the two, in one fell swoop, and we kind of just jumped the gun. That's basically what happened.
I see.
So
Still
Still.
getting you got a distributor to pick you up.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
huge.
this is what happened. Four Corners did a great job. The film grossed like 150 grand in international, sales. And here's something to keep in mind. Like, for instance, I recall this very clearly because we were both like shocked. Japan, for instance, paid $25,000 for the rights for Cut Up, for the TV rights, pay-per-view rights, and so forth in Japan.
What does it mean for you?
Yeah, okay, I'm just getting to that.
Yeah, right.
So the thing is, here's something to keep in mind. They don't do that now. It's over.
Oh.
All of that shit is over. Ask any filmmaker, ask any low-budget filmmaker how much they're getting for international distribution. They will tell you. It is all over. The glory days of getting, a lot of money. Yeah, it's just gone.
That's depressing.
So it is kind of depressing. But what happened is that, as I said, we ended up, grossing about 150 grand with this company, and they paid us we received about $13,000 from that.
And what was your costs?
That the cost of the film was $28,000. But we had investors, it was that classic, get investors and so forth that you get to
right.
and, invest in your film, backers and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened is that so out of $150,000, we ended up seeing about $13,000. The way it works is that the international distributor says, yeah, okay, but we have about $40,000 or $50,000 in marketing costs, which come right off the top.
Damn it.
So
of course, Hollywood accounting.
Right. Yeah, they just and this happens a lot. It's just typical distributor tactics. They may or may not have those costs at all, but contractually, it is very rare that they will strike that from the contract because that gives them the leverage. Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, we're talking about, distributors are in it to make money. So if the more money they can keep, the more, the better for them. So they put all of these, marketing and festival attendance costs and all kinds of shit. I mean, there are a lot of companies that have like $50,000 to $100,000 expense caps on a film. Imagine.
Wow, good luck getting that money. It seems like it's better to be. Seems like it's better to be the middleman. It seems like it's a better idea just to be the middleman.
It is. Jesse, you're absolutely right. That's where the most money is made.
Right, and that's why tonight I'm announcing my new distribution. No, just kidding. But in any case, so it's hard as hell unless you've got like a breakthrough film that people are coming to you. They're knocking on your door. You're not going to get much of a deal. It's just the way it is. Ask anybody, they will tell you the same. So then, of course, the other scenario becomes self-distribution. I have made money with self-distribution on several of my films simply by, it's like, look, you could start off with your new film and say, okay, I'm going to sell like 300 copies, 300 DVDs or 300 Blu-rays as a limited release.
Yeah.
Make 3 or 4 grand. So you've at least got something back, right? You've got that money. Then strike a deal with the distributor and say, look, I just had this little limited release. It's no big deal. I'm no longer selling the film, but I want the film to go on to, all the platforms and go into international distribution. So here it is. Let's make a deal. So at that point, you figure, well, at least I've made like 4 grand. If I never see another dime, I made something off of it.
Right.
And the fact is that as an individual, you cannot do international deals.
No.
You cannot do international trade deals. It does
At all?
not. It does
It's
at all.
It's just
You- you-
impractical. I mean, probably technically you could, but it's impractical as hell.
Right. Well, let's put it this way: you couldn't go to Japan and say, okay, look, I'm offering you the exclusive pay-per-view television rights to my movie." It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
The buyer in Japan will laugh at you and tell you to get a distributor because
Okay.
that's the connection they have. It's a money thing, right?
All right, Dead Man's Tome was going to enter the distribution business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they scratch each other's backs. The companies in other countries, help the distributors here and vice versa. So
Yeah.
they've got a good system going.
Okay.
And I can tell you, here's really what it is. It's like, ask other filmmakers, they will probably tell you the same thing. A distributor will come, will email you and say, "Hey, we heard about your film. It sounds really great. We want to pick it up for distribution." What they do is that they're getting ready to go to Cannes, or they're getting ready to go to Berlin or some big market, and they want to bundle your film in about 50 other movies and sell that bundle to Japan, which
Okay.
is going to pay. They'll pay, and Japan will pay 20 grand for those 50 movies, and then your the gross cut will be, I don't know, $200 or $300 for your movie. Then
Wow.
your net cut will be like $10 to you.
Horrible,
That's how it
man.
works.
Horrible.
It's horrible.
That's so depressing.
So,
Okay.
it's kind of depressing. Look, here's the way you solve that, though. You make a kick-ass movie like Blair Witch Project. That just goes through the roof and makes $250 million.
See, it's easy.
Dead easy.
It's easy. It's easy. And that's why everybody picked up a camera and started running in the forest, shaking it.
Oh, Jesus.
Like Jesus Christ.
And then
I'll
paranormal.
strangle those guys if I ever meet them.
I know.
Man, and
Oh,
then the
God.
whole paranormal activity craze.
I remember seeing
Yes,
comments from cameramen who say, I have spent the last 10 years learning how to move with a camera without it shaking, and now everybody's just shaking the shit out of the cameras.
I know. It's so bad. It's like, I just don't even know where to. I look. There's something about Blair Witch Project. It's a great movie in certain aspects. The marketing of that film was genius.
That's the only place I think it shines.
Yeah.
And let's put it this way. The film cost $60,000 to make. Then I think it was Sony who bought it, picked it up, one of those companies, and they spent $25 million marketing that film.
Holy shit!
Damn.
That was the marketing budget on a $60,000 film.
And the Blair Witch Project is like it's like a backyard project, man. Come on, anyone could have done that.
It really is.
It was. It's just that they happened to do it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that film to date has grossed nearly $300 million. Think about that. That film, even with the $25 million marketing budget, that film has grossed more money per cost than any Marvel Universe film will ever gross per its cost.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because it was so
cheap, fast to make. Which goes to show you, I guess, what I'm trying to say here is that you can make a cheap movie, a very low budget film, and we're talking about great examples here. Of course, Blair Witch Project, El Mariachi is another example. I mean, that sent Rodriguez through the roof, man. Yeah. So there's another great example. I don't know if you guys know the guy. There's a film that came out like 2007, I think, called Primer.
Sounds familiar.
Primer. It's a science fiction film with no special effects. and it was shot for $7,000. It grossed like $5 million, which is really awesome when you think about it. It's a great film. If you can find it, see it, because it is a great example of how to make a really good film with no money. $7,000 primer.
Yeah, and to go back to Rodriguez, if anybody's interested in Rodriguez and El Mariachi, read his book Rebel Without a Crew. It tells the whole story. It's a fantastic.
Yeah, he even like subjected himself to medical experiments.
That's when he wrote the script.
Yeah.
He was in a hospital doing medical testing. And that's to raise the money for the film and to write the script. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
dedication, man.
Yeah, that's a level of dedication that I gotta say I would never subject myself to medical experiments to make a movie. I mean, it's enough of like it's enough of a traumatic experience without adding medical experimentation onto it.
He's radioactive now. His toe fell off. His dick probably don't work. It's okay.
All that.
Making movies.
He's making movies. Yeah, and they got to do like freaking From Dusk Till Dawn with Selma Hayek.
Oh, right? Yeah.
Now just think about that. Just let that roll. Imagine her with the snake.
Get her
and everything.
Getting her on set like that.
Oh my God,
man!
We have to do another take.
Yeah, exactly.
Take 73.
I've got to go to the bathroom again. It's one of that scene when I first saw that scene, the whole thing, and then she comes down with a snake, and I'm like, holy crap, this is just perfect. This is just like something that you imagine, like, I mean, in your wildest dreams, I guess, is like this hot, seductive woman with a snake who is totally evil, who is just coming down there, and you're loving it, and there's Tom Savini as the great character, with the I don't know, 6-shooter in his crotch or whatever the hell that was.
What do you call him? The sex machine? I forgot what he called him.
Yeah, the sex machine, right?
I think so.
That was it. I think that was it. And that film is just great. I mean, and so you go from something like El Mariachi. There she is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that picture ready.
I mean, come on, man. Come on. Wow.
I know.
That is just perfect.
All right.
So
Danny Trejo.
Mm-hmm.
Danny Trejo's in it, of course, Tarantino and George Clooney.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and they all do a great job. It's all like just a great cast. And so Rodriguez goes from fucking El Mariachi to Dusk Till Dawn. And I mean, what a great filmmaker. This guy, like, to me, I saw this film, and I saw in particular, you guys ever see The Faculty?
Oh yeah, it's in The Faculty.
Yeah.
Man, that film is wicked.
It is pretty cool.
Great. Alien, the whole, whatever. Kind of Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of thing,
Yeah, in a high school setting. I like the scene with the on the football field when they're like demolishing the other team.
Yeah. Hey, that's the whole thing. It's kind of like, I guess just getting back to it is like what I'm saying. It is possible, and it happens, that these no-budget films come out of nowhere. As somebody sees them, they pick them up, and suddenly that filmmaker is getting millions to make a film, just like Kevin Smith, Clerks.
Yeah.
Right? Clerks is a perfect example. Again,
you think
a guy makes a hilarious comedy, and boom, there it is.
You think it could still happen now?
Has it? I don't know.
Seems like it's been a while since there's been somebody who's, taken their movie across the line like that.
I think you're right. I haven't heard of it. Jeez, man, it's been years.
Well,
It's been years.
and you know what? If that's the case, and it does seem like it's been a long time, you got to blame the fucking bean counters who are just into comic books and remakes.
Oh man,
They're not looking for any new shit.
Yeah, and reboots.
Yeah,
reboots, remakes. They got no
gender swap. We're doing a gender swap, guys.
We're doing a gender swap. Right. It's like,
I'll swap with Selma.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
No,
she might not be happy with that.
I'm sure that snake has got a few tails. Well, at least one. But in any case, yeah.
Okay. One thing I definitely wanted to ask you about is the thing in the shed, because that's a short story that's coming in Monster Party, which doesn't have a release date yet, but it's going to come out this month, definitely before Halloween.
All right.
Okay, but so it's a short story, but it's also a film. So tell us about that.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. This is really interesting, and now we get to bionanotechnology.
Yeah.
Here we go. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
All right. So one of the things I love about horror films is the like science fiction horror kind of thing. Alien. I loved all of those, and also like the 50s and 60s sci-fi films that had kind of like a horror edge to them. I loved those. I grew up on when I was a kid, just watching the reruns and shit on television. And so I really got into science fiction heavily. Man, I was reading, Philip K. Dick, Harlan Ellison, all of those writers. I was just an avid fan. And I like kind of the whole thing about the science gone terribly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's a classic, right? Some of the best films are exactly that. And so with Thing in the Shed and Horror Anthology Movie, there's a couple of other ones in that collection. The idea was, I like reading stuff like, I don't know, Scientific American and stuff to see like what's happening in technology. Right. Because there's always some shit where you're just like, what? This is like the end of the world or something. You start imagining in your mind like how things could get really screwed up with this technology that they're talking about. You know what I'm talking. Everybody, like I'm sure, has stopped and thought, okay, this technology could lead to the end of the world. All right.
Well, and it's also it's a trope for a reason. It's a trope for a reason, and. Yeah,
exactly. So basically, I had been reading about nanotechnology, and I read a book. Michael Crichton, the
fabulous guy.
Right? Okay,
fabulous.
Yeah,
he's gonna be a guest on the show.
Well,
from the grave.
from the grave. Yeah, exactly. Well, here's the thing. Michael Crichton wrote a book that Rusty and I actually were talking about over the weekend called Prey, as in Prey, and it's about nanotechnology gone horribly wrong, And this was, nanotechnology. Just a quick thing, an explanation. It's simply the science of microscopic robots and what they can do for science, for technology, they have theoretically they have a wide variety of applications. You could do all kinds. For instance,
absolutely,
you could have a dent in your car. Well, nanobots could go in and they would resurface your car with the nanobots. They would actually create that solid surface just based upon a program. It was like, okay, repair that dent. Because there's
also a lot of experiments with nanobots going in and killing cancer cells.
Yes.
And this is effective?
Attacking only the cancer cells.
Right. And that's what we talk about in Thing in the Shed. And here's the thing with that technology on a medical level. What they could do is not only can these nanobots go in and kill those cancerous cells, they can replace them. as new cells. This is bio-nanotechnology. These are microscopic robots that are organic. And this is something that they are working on. It is real. This is not bullshit. It's going to happen. And you can think of the implications of that. They could literally rebuild somebody's heart, any organs, a limb, whatever. I mean, it could, in essence, make humans immortal.
Yeah, or assassinate them.
Right, you could do. Oh, you could do all. This is where, you know, when you start thinking, rolling it in your mind, you know, as far as like the permutations of such a technology, and this is where Thing in the Shed comes in, because basically, Rusty Jackson, so I think is still with us. I hope. He and Brian Lanigan played the two lead characters. Rusty is Martin, and Brian is Stanley. So Stanley is at his house late one night sleeping. He gets woken up by a knock at the door, and it's Martin. And Martin comes in, and he's acting kind of strange, and he's holding a giant sack with something in it. And Stanley discovers that in the sack there's a black box. It's just a shiny black box. It has no, openings. It's just solid. It's a solid black box. He puts it on the table, and he starts telling Stanley about this story about this scientist that was one of the leaders in this bio-nanotechnology. And of course, he decides to take his project back to his house to work on it in the shed behind the house, like where he's got his little lab set up, you know?
Yeah.
And one day, people come by to the house, and they discover that he and his wife are gone. Everything is in its place, like they were just there, but they're gone. They've disappeared, and they never find them. And so Stanley, Martin is the one who's got the box. He explains that he went into the shed, and the only thing he found in the shed was a black box sitting on the floor. So he takes the black box and he brings it to Stanley, and he starts talking about bio-nanotechnology.
Yeah.
And what he thinks the box could be. Okay. And so that is the pretty much the setup for Thing in the Shed. And it was one of those things where I thought, man, this has got just, it's kind of like, you know, science fiction, where you're taking this, you know, this theory of bio-nanotechnology and setting it against the backdrop of one dark and stormy night, you know, that type of thing, making it real creepy as hell. And so basically that's the idea with Thing in the Shed. And after the film came out, people really liked that film. And it was just one of those things. They were like, man, that was really creepy. It just had something different about it, you know? And so I thought, damn, maybe what I should do is take the script and develop it into a short story. So it's kind of like working it the opposite way, right?
Yeah, that's almost backwards.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I did it ass backwards, which, you know, it's fairly usual for me. So I adapted, you know, the script into a short story, and I started, you know, just submitting it. This was probably, I think I finished it in 2016, so I started submitting it to places shortly thereafter, and I think I submitted it to, like, I don't know, maybe 24. You know, just everywhere that I could. I was just submitting, and I submitted it to Dead Man's Tome, and this was, of course, and that I was
what?
yeah.
That's our paths crossed. Look at that.
And yeah, that's how our paths crossed. This is exactly how everything came together, and you know, I was just like, wow, this is great. Yeah, there we have Rusty commenting, creepy scene with the black box. that's where that photo is where they're staring at the black box on the table, and Rusty is telling him of the story, and so it's just one of those things where things slowly get creepier and creepier when you realize what that black box could be. That is the surface of the black box, and that's Rusty looking at that's his reflection, which is distorted and it kind of looks like a monster.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, it looks like an X-ray.
That's what I like about the story. It did have that slow build. It had that build to it. It was getting gradually creepier. It also met with the Monster Party criteria because we're talking about a black box, a cube, that is pretty much consuming, or
you're right.
They're just taking these people over.
Hey, Jesse.
Yeah.
This brings up another interesting end of interview question that we could have, and it's one that I have asked people on occasion myself, and that is, if you could live if you could be biologically immortal, meaning your body doesn't wear out, not that you can't be killed, would you do it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I suppose if you were like a multi-millionaire, it would be good. But of course, if you had could you imagine, for instance, it would be kind of like, okay, so I can live for 300 years. You mean I have to work for 300 years? I don't know if I want to do that shit. Holy shit. I mean, you're not, okay, I'm sorry, but Social Security is not going to last.
No.
It's ain't going to happen.
No,
it ain't going to happen.
It would things would change significantly. I imagine that here's how I imagine it working: is that people would work for a while, save up money, retire for a while, go back to school, learn some new skill, work for a while.
SK is an optimist.
Retire for a while, learn some new other skill. You'd have a whole career as a musician, then be a lawyer, then be a doctor, then just be a beach bum, then just, be a writer, whatever the hell you wanted. Then in between that, you'd have 20 years off.
Right. Effectively, you'd be a vampire without drinking the blood. You would just live indefinitely, and you would live through various,
various versions of your own self.
Right, and for hundreds of years, so you would see society massively shift.
Well, except you wouldn't have the money, though. I mean, if you don't have the money, then you're just a bum that lives forever. So,
well, you could, though.
Well, you could
be a bum that lives forever.
You'd be like, great, I have syphilis, but now I'll have syphilis forever. Great.
So I have
yeah, but that's why you need Bionanotechnology, man.
Oh, it takes care of the syphilis? What about crabs?
Get rid of that syphilis,
does Bionanotechnology take care of crabs?
No, you got to go to Dirty Dicks for that.
Oh, shit. Okay. I need to rethink my life then.
My theory is that if you get a critical mass of people with biological immortality, that you would put an end to war. And the reason why is that as a young man, it's one thing to risk, 60 years of life in a war. It's another thing to risk 600 years of life.
Right, but of course, if you had bio-nanotechnology and so forth, maybe it would be easier, because if you got blown up on the battlefield, they just put you back together. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you would just
that might take a long time before you could actually get put back together from little bits.
Or maybe they would just clone you.
Then war would be like a Call of Duty game. What's the point?
You have to reset.
Reset, right?
They'd have to be able to clone your consciousness.
I'm curious. So
well, if it's digital, you might be able to upload it.
So wait. So there have been actual application of bio-nanotechnology in the human body in a way where it seems practical, like it's actually going to happen.
Oh, it's going to happen. As far as any practical, application now, I haven't heard of anything.
See, I'm so curious.
Technology. They're testing nanotechnology. Bionanotechnology is yet another leap. It's a massive leap from nanotechnology, and they're still in the infancy with nanotechnology. So we're talking about, I would say we're talking about years, maybe decades.
When I heard about nanotechnology, it was like longer.
Some of the early applications of bionanobots is, clearing out blood clots and strokes and that kind of stuff, where they could put it in the bloodstream and they'll go chew up the blood clot and clear out a stroke or a heart attack or that kind of thing. Mending internal bleeds, some things like that. So it's pretty simple things to get them to do.
Okay.
Initially.
That's true. That's true. I guess, it's happening. It is happening. It's going to be part of it, part of our lives. And we are going to extend our lives dramatically. I mean, for us, I don't know. For kids now growing up, certainly. That's
I'm gonna stick around for it. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah. I'm good with about 80 years, and that'll be that's.
See, if I had that choice, I'd be like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, right. I mean, look, I don't.
But that's because y'all live boring lives.
Hey, man, you're also on the show with me too. So you can't lie too much.
I do other things.
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of like, you just kind of. I think the great thing about the way we live our natural lives is that you get 80 years or whatever, 90 years, and you do whatever as much as you can. You have a great time. You work hard. Whatever, and then you die. That's the great cycle of life.
Why is that great?
Because
you've
accomplished you've lived your life. You've accomplished your goals.
What if Einstein was still alive?
No. No. Yeah, because that maybe it would be a nightmare. I mean, we don't know. I mean, what if Hitler was still alive? It's kind of like one of those things where we don't want to. In the first place, I do have some problems, like they're talking about bringing back, dinosaurs or woolly mammoths and stuff like that. I'm like, not a good idea.
Yeah.
None of these things are a good idea. The reason why they're extinct is because of the natural order of the earth. That is why they are, and the natural order of the cosmos. Because have you not
seen Jurassic Park? Even if you did bring him back,
here's the thing that people tend to overlook.
Yeah,
we're part of the natural world.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we can make things happen that other animals can't doesn't mean we're not part of the natural world.
Oh, we are part of the natural world. But the difference is that we have the ability to create very unnatural things.
Oh, and we do.
And we've done it.
And we do. We like doing it too.
We go
driven by curiosity, right? It's like, let's do it.
Exactly.
Let's see if we can.
But
hold my beer.
Yeah,
I'm gonna clone this woolly mammoth.
Yes, but this is how great science fiction and science fiction horror develops, because we think about things like, okay, you have this technology, how is it going to screw up? Mm-hmm. Right? Here's the ramifications of such a technology. Because it is in the hands of humans. Because humans
in the hands of dogs.
But at the same time, people have been decrying and saying that technology is going to be the end of civilization since the fucking printing press.
Yeah.
Light bulbs, oh my God.
But those things have a very limited stretch. We're not talking about that. We're talking about, in the first place, nuclear weapons. Which still are a major threat on the earth. I mean, look, in case people aren't aware, they've wiped out hundreds of thousands of people, have created genetic mutations for decades for little pea shooter bombs. Okay, these are little bombs. The weapons we got right now, in comparison to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, are vastly larger. They are just. It's horrifying to even think of, and we would use those. That's the thing. You guys, you think in terms of like, well, yeah, humans are always use things for the right purposes.
Not
I don't
correct.
think that
Nobody's
not correct.
Nobody's ever
No one on this show
Yeah.
thinks that.
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely. Well, that's what you're saying, though. You're like saying, oh, the printing press. People thought it was the end of the world. Yeah, but those things they don't reach across the globe. You see,
but it did.
That's
the printing press does.
No.
It uses the information.
Yeah,
it spreads ideas across the globe like a virus.
Right. It doesn't spread death across the globe.
It can, though. You can radicalize.
No. I'm talking about literally a nuclear warhead.
I'm following
megaton bomb. Right.
Yeah.
Also, too, if you think about, like, for instance, nanotechnology and its uses. Mm-hmm. You could have, think about just viruses that could be spread with bionanotechnology. This was the idea with 12 Monkeys, for example.
Yeah. Okay. I love that movie.
And are you kidding? You guys kidding me? You have insane religious freaks from other countries that would like to destroy the Western world. And the thing is that, once bombs are obsolete, what are you going to use? A virus. Of course. That's going to happen. There are scientists that are very bad people that are working on viruses that could spread across the earth in a matter of days. That is a reality. I don't mean to bring anybody down, but that's happening.
Oddly enough,
technology.
Oddly enough, technology actually protects us against that becoming as devastating as it could be. And by that, I mean social media, for example, that word gets out so much faster today. And it's so much easier to put yourself personally and your family in quarantine, and you have stuff like shipped to your door and not have to see anybody.
Yeah, right.
Well,
work from home.
Amazon can deliver by drone now.
That's a little tricky when you're talking about an airborne virus that's killing the people that are trying to deliver shit to your door or that are actually working.
But airborne viruses have to be continued on. They don't just float around the fucking globe. They have to be transmitted through the air. From person to person.
Says you. How
virus
long
needs
does
a host. A virus does need a host.
Yeah. But how long does an airborne virus survive?
Not very long.
Says you.
Well,
because you see, the thing is that's what they're working on. You think that they're like going, hey, let's make this virus that survives for 10 seconds in the air. No, they're not doing that. That's you make a virus that's going to survive airborne for minutes, perhaps even hours. This is what they're trying to achieve. Because obviously, you could protect yourself in another scenario, but they're not working. They're doing, the scope of science and what people are actually, achieving. They're moving beyond those old norms of like, we got to worry about this virus for 6 seconds, then it's dead. That's not the case. They're mutating viruses.
No, they don't even need viruses. All they need to do is create a black box like the one in your story, drop that over, maybe consuming the whole.
Just have right, exactly, and then they'll change into these creatures, and then they'll take the black box to their neighbors.
That's right,
and so on and so forth.
All right. Now, Mike, we are kind of cut for time, but one question I'd like to ask my guests: what's your favorite horror movie?
Well, I don't know about that. But I could say, like, for instance, Island of Lost Souls is one of my favorites.
Ooh.
You guys ever seen that one?
Yeah.
It's
been a while, but yeah.
Yeah, it is the original adaptation of the H.G. Wells story Island of Dr. Moreau. This is like 1931, and it's the one with Bela Lugosi in it. These are the the creatures that are kind of half man, half animal, and it's Island of Lost Souls. If you get a chance, see this movie or rewatch this film. It is fantastic. It's just once again, it's got a lot of atmosphere. It's really creepy, and it's also about vivisection, which is the what in the idea in the film is that the scientist is using vivisection to take animals and make them partly human or appear to be human.
Oh wow!
And it's pretty extreme. I mean, there are like scenes of torture in this film, which are to this day I think are pretty disturbing. So I highly recommend it. Island of the Lost Souls or Island of Lost Souls. 1931. It is great, man. It is some makeup effects in the film are just awesome. Really, really good. Yeah, still. Yeah. I mean, of course, you can go back to that time. I love the original Frankenstein, Universal's Frankenstein.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic. James Whale, fantastic.
Yeah.
As far as new films go, I definitely, I mean, getting into the 21st century, I love Pontypool. That's a really unusual, I don't know what the hell you want to call it. It's really not a zombie film, but it's where a virus spreads through language. I don't know if you guys have seen that film.
Oh no, I have
not.
Check it out. A virus spreads through language, which causes people to go insane.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's a neuro-linguistic virus type of.
Okay.
Works on the brain and.
Well, according to the government, that's video games and comic books.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
The Joker movie.
Exactly. Right. Quick question. What recently have you guys seen that really blew your minds?
Oh man.
Like movie wise. That you really thought, wow, this is fucking awesome.
It's been so long since I've had something really, really impress me.
I agree.
The latest thing we're watching is the Ash versus Evil Dead. That series. I never really caught it when it was on Stars. I think it was on, but now I'm finally starting to really watch it. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I don't know, man. I haven't really seen anything like shit recently that really, has blown my mind. It's kind of like
John Wick is the closest.
John Wick is great. That's amazing.
Yeah. I like the first two. I really liked a lot.
I haven't seen the third one yet.
Yeah.
Well, amazing things about that one too. I haven't seen it.
Yeah. That's a pretty good. But science fiction or horror wise, it's kind of like
pretty thin right now.
It's kind of thin. I mean, because people they call, for instance, Marvel Universe movies science fiction. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me, man.
That's a joke.
It is a joke. It's a flat out. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
All right. Well, Mike. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, there's a couple of science fiction films like Interstellar, which I thought the concepts were really interesting. Maybe the whole film doesn't work, but where they kind of they kind of get into some hard science fiction, which is cool. I always like that kind of thing where they actually explain stuff, where it's kind of like, yes, this is the concept and this is, what the science behind it. And I enjoy that kind of science fiction film because at least they've done some research. There's something to it, as opposed to just saying, oh yeah, this shit just happened. And these zombies are like walking around, whatever. It's like they've got something to back it up. I like that.
All right, that's cool. All right, Mike T. Lyddon, it was great having you on the show. Thank you so much. Guys,
Yeah, thank you
gentlemen, if you're
guys,
watching
man.
right now, please press the like button, share, and subscribe. It means a
Yes.
whole lot. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you
And
guys.
you
I
have
appreciate
so
it.
much work. Like we could easily have you back on again later on to talk about a bunch of other
Hey,
stuff.
you know
That's
what we
great.
should do? Maybe we could do it in November after all the festivals,
Maybe
because
There
then
you
I
go.
can give you like a festival rundown, and what has happened with this shit.
Oh, you know what?
Because
Very cool.
If we
we
could get a
haven't even talked
scientist,
about this.
if we can get
Yeah.
a scientist or an expert on nanotechnology on the show to
Oh,
talk
that
to
would be
you
great.
about nanotechnology,
And then they would
Great.
be like, and then they would be like, yes, well, Thing in the Shed is really full of shit, isn't it? It's just I mean, I don't even know where this Lyddon character gets off on writing this trash. Bionanotechnology. Ha!
Yeah.
No,
All
I
right,
don't
all
know.
right.
Something like that.
All
But
right.
yeah, thank you very much, you guys. I really appreciate. I enjoyed it immensely, and hopefully you'll have me back on. And just looking forward to the release of the anthology.
I am
You
too,
know,
man. I am too. I'll let you know when it comes out.
Monster Party, Monster Party.
That's right.
Yes, Monster Party.
Monster Party.
All
All right,
right.
ladies and gentlemen, y'all
All
take
right.
it easy.